Guys, welcome back to the channel. And before we start off today's video, I do want to make a couple mentions of a few things. Number one, you guys pushed me over 1,000 subs on New Year's Eve morning, and that's awesome. I really appreciate that. I can't thank you enough. It shows that there's interest in the channel and makes me want to keep making some of these videos, and it's kind of cool to see the channel building. Secondly, what you're about to see, the car you're about to see, is probably what I'm going to say the most rotten race car out there. If anyone out there is running a more rotten race car than what you're about to see here in this video today, let me know about it. But basically what I did was pulled this thing out of Landshark's junkyard 5 or 6 years ago now. And the thing had no rear end in it, no floors, all the springs were broke, the engine was tight, had a V8 Studebaker engine in it. It is a 52 Studebaker Commander. And basically I welded every single piece of scrap metal in the shop back into this thing to tie it together, and took every piece of rusty tin, diamond plate, gutter grates out of barns for over the gutter where all the crap goes, and welded it back into this thing to make it functional again. Dropped a small block out in it, dropped a small block in it, and started racing the thing. Now for the first 2 years the car did pretty poorly, back of the pack, but the third year we got the thing working fairly good. I got 5th place in points the third year and 5th place in points the 4th year. Now I think it's time to try to do a little bit better than that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate the limiting factor. That straight axle in the front end is limiting this car severely. So in this upcoming video we're going to get rid of that straight axle, swap in a whole different front stub, and we're probably going to have a few more build series on this one. In the background over here there's a 49 Chrysler Windsor that's also going to become an ice racing car shortly, and we'll probably be starting racing in 2 to 3 weeks. So I really appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to roll the video now. Thanks for 1,000 subs. Keep the content coming. We got a lot more projects coming up in the future, and the 2890 Sunbird will probably be back in spring at some point in time when it's not 20 degrees out and I can tune the thing a little bit better. But we'll get to that in another video. Here's today's video. Thanks for watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today going to be getting the old 52 Studebaker Commander stock car, ice car going again today, and get it down to the shop because I have some suspension upgrades I want to do on this thing, among a lot of other things that need to get repaired on it. So just ran to town and got myself a carburetor base plate gasket. We're going to go get the carb back on, put some fuel in it, put a battery in it, and get the thing on the trailer and head down to the shop. Alright, well I got some bolts here because I lost 2 from the back of the carb. Got myself a new gasket, and here's my carburetor, so let's take a walk out to the car and get this stuff put back on. So like I was saying before, some of the first videos I shot on this channel were just doing a little bit of work on this ice car and then going out to the lake and racing it. It was an old stock car. I have some pictures of that when we pulled it out of the yard. If you go back and look on some of the first videos too. Oh, I got a flat tire too. Anyway, it should be ready to run, I guess, after we put the carburetor on it, so we'll get that stuff back on and see if she fires up. Carburetor went on pretty quick and painless. Everything's hooked back up there. Gotta go get myself a throttle return spring, and I guess we'll get ourselves a battery and some gas right away too here. I know there was a gigantic hornet's nest inside this trunk this summer, so it's 30 degrees, it should be safe. Actually, it's gone. Good. Alright, so we're good on the gas and the battery. Let's go get some air in this tire quick up here. Oh, that's a little better. Guess we'll pull the dipstick quick and make sure there's oil in it. Yeah, looks good and clean too. Kind of hard to see there. Good to go on that. Oh, I forgot my throttle return spring. I'll go grab that quick. heat on. Whew, I think we might have a problem with our heater core. Woo! Damn! Yeah. That's antifreeze. Guess I'll have to put a new heater in here. Wipers still work. Alright. Not bad. So basically where we're at right now is we got about 3 to 4 weeks before our ice racing season starts. And I'd say I think it's been 4 years that I've had this car on the track. The first 2 years didn't go too well. After that, started improving a lot of things on it, rebuilt a lot of stuff on there, especially suspension wise. It's all leaf spring yet, it's a straight axle in the front. Built my own homemade sliders there, just grease everything up liberally each week before each race, and it actually worked pretty good. I got 5th place 2 years in a row after I got all the suspension redone in it, but I'd like to improve a little bit more. And one of the biggest things in here yet is this is still manual steering. It is a, I don't even know what I got in here. It looks like Vega box. So I got a Vega box in here with 2-to-1 reducer steering quickener inside the car. So that means basically it's a 5-turn box, and it's only taken me 2.5 turns to turn it, which on the ground right now is super hard to turn. When you're rolling on the ice, it's not such a big deal. Actually, you don't even really notice it, but it would definitely be a lot better with power steering, and that is the #1 plan here before racing starts this year. I have a, I don't even know what year it is, I think 76 Camaro stub sitting here on the ground, and this is the plan for the next couple of days, to get this thing in that car and get that straight axle stuff all out of there. We'll have power steering, way better geometry, get rid of that straight axle. Now we got independent, so that should actually, I should be able to set this up better to corner on the ice. It's just going to be an all-around better setup. So we might even get lucky and be able to, where the drop comes down here in front, we might even be able to get lucky and just saw this off up here and slide those drops down under the chassis of the car and just weld the thing in. I mean, this thing is pretty crude. It was built that way. Everything was pretty much gas and stick welded when I got it, and then I welded a ton of stuff into the floors here. There were no floors. I welded all this stuff in very crudely, just to kind of match the way the car was built, you know. It made it look like something they could have done back then, so I guess we might as well install the stub the same way they would have done it back then too, as long as it's solid, safe, and doesn't fall out of the car. So I'm gonna get this thing loaded on the trailer. We'll lift that up with the tractor that's running up there on the hill, get it in the back of the pickup truck, and head down to the shop and start chopping some stuff apart. Alright guys, well I got the stub loaded in the back of the truck now. Trailer's all strapped down, ready to go. I'm gonna go shut the lights off in the garage, and we're gonna head down to the shop, get this thing in, take a few measurements for the new stub here, and start whacking away at the car tonight. So basically, before we can get started mounting that in here, I'm gonna go through and take the Sawzall and cut off all the structure here. I want to try to maintain as much of that originality as I possibly can. I think then we're just going to go ahead and pull the engine right away, get the radiator off, and get this thing slid underneath the chassis and weld it into place. Well, I spilled gas all over the floor over here, otherwise I would have probably plasma cut it. Well, we are looking pretty good on the top side now. Got everything cut off, ready to go. Throttle cables unhooked, oil pressure gauge, water temp gauge, fuel line, motor mount bolts are out. We should be pretty much ready. Oh yeah, starter and coils unhooked. Gonna get this thing up in the air, pull the transmission bolt out in the drive shaft, and we should be ready to slide that engine on out of here so we can cut the stub off this one. Alright guys, so like I said before, this thing is pretty rough. Bottom of the rails are completely rotted out on both sides, and essentially when I got this out of the junkyard, I just welded a ton of framing in up above, kind of took the angle iron and notched it out and cupped over the top of the frame up here, and essentially built a frame on top of this rotten old rusty frame that remained under the car to get my rigidity back, and then basically caged it in on top to tie it all together. Haven't had any problems with anything falling apart yet, but it's not very pleasing to look at, I will say that much. Anyway, I'm gonna pop the drive shaft out of here, and then I am running a van transmission. As you can see, there's no cross member on the bottom holding it. My bolt is actually right up there on top, and hopefully I was smart enough when I built the car and put the floor pans in. Hopefully I welded the nut on the front side of that. I think I did. Kind of hard to tell, but that'd be nice because then the bolt will just roll out and we're ready to go. So drive shaft first. God, who designed this car? Awesome. Hold up. All right, we're good. That'll work. Good there? Yep. 116 and a half, so we shortened it an inch. You're there? We're 114 here. 114, that's 2 inches. 115 and a quarter. Yes, we are. Give her a tap up, Brian, on the hoist. All right, good. All right. Yep, I will. Set her down? Yep. We could definitely do that. Alright guys, well we got a lot of stuff done last night and really didn't say much about what we were doing here. We ended up getting the stub put back in this thing and squared up to the best of our ability. I'll get this thing in the air and show you guys how far it's off. This entire car is diamond out. Basically it's U-shaped from the back to the front this way, and we did a lot of measuring last night, got everything set up the way we wanted it with that stub. And basically on this side, when it comes into the car, the outside of that stub, how do I want to say that? The inside of this frame rail is actually almost off the frame rail here, and this side it's almost all the way on the inside. That's how badly the rest of this car is bent up, and I believe it from the looks of it. So we got everything really nice and true in there. It should handle a ton better than that old straight axle stuff, and it's probably more square now than it was before too, I'm assuming. Got our engine back in last night, transmission bolted into the tunnel, and that was about it. This morning came in, cut a few plates here, some spacer plates from between my motor mount, got those welded in, got the mounts welded to that. So we're all mounted up, ready to go here. Got to put the drive shaft back in yet. And right now, doing a little power steering pump work. Gonna have power steering now, that'll be awesome. So got my spacer milled already and put down in there on the water pump, chased all my bolt holes with the tap. This does have to get pushed back a tiny bit, but we'll pull that back when we make this bracket and the spacers for up here, which is what I'm going to be doing next. Well, we made a little further progress last night, popped the front wheels off on this thing, actually got my bleeders to loosen up and ran all my brake lines for the front brakes. Went to bleed them out. This caliper is junk. The other one actually worked, but I ordered 2 new ones anyway. Probably going to pull off these calipers real quick now and get the rotors off. I'll give them a quick turn because they're pretty rusty. Repack the bearings and put new front seals in it. Also, as you guys saw, we got the power steering all wrapped up and got the new steering column mounted into place with the 2-to-1 quickener in it. The fun part about this project is nothing really has to look fancy. I mean, just stuff laying around welded together is all we really need, and that turned out pretty nice. Angles worked out good. The column is, well, actually, if you look here real quick, I got this one tab on it. This is doing a lot of the support for the column on the bottom side because this is bolted on the bottom with 2, I think 7/16 bolts, and then this is just a solid coupler sleeve. So this is actually doing quite a bit of support here. I'll probably put 1 or 2 more pieces in here and then just seal this off, and then we'll have to go up to the inside and probably add a little bit more bracing, probably off that original column mount up to my tube here over it. But that worked out pretty good. Originally had push button and switches to start the thing. Probably redo the wiring. It's pretty crude and simple too. Just redo the whole thing and hook it up to the electrical on top of the column there, so we can just use the key to start it and kick on the accessories and all that stuff. So as for right now, I'm going to start pulling these brakes off this thing, get everything cleaned up. We'll turn those rotors quick and start packing some bearings. Hopefully by that time the new calipers and brake pads and stuff come in at the store. So let's get going at it. Alright guys, well we left off yesterday packing the wheel bearings and preloading the bearings, getting all those back on, and since then I got the brake calipers all on, put some brand new hoses on it, and we got everything bled out here. One other thing you're going to notice is there's some headers on it now. Came in this morning and ran a fuel line, hooked up the few wires on the engine to make things run. The starter, distributor cap, alternator, oil pressure, and water temp gauge. I went to put my original headers back on it and realized, well, guess what? With a power steering pump, it ran right into this. If you remember what they look like, they were the ones up on the wall over there, and those were no longer going to work. And actually, I've been thinking about putting a full exhaust on it anyway and getting them to come out on the rear tire anyway. So this will work out pretty good. Just going to bend up from here, come down, and kind of do like a fender well exhaust system right on the side of it. So that'll work out pretty good. Other than that, welded a lot of gussets under the bottom. Let's lift it up and take a look at that. So we got a couple gussets here on the outside, on this side, tied in together. Also welded off the old crusty front of this original rail and got that tied in up here on the swoop. Did a couple more on this side over here. Got these plates welded in. I think we saw that earlier. One on each side. Now, one of the craziest things with this car is too, look where that stub frame is. Look where this rail is. We're actually on the inside of this frame rail, and if you go to the driver's side, we're almost 2 inches inside the rail. That's actually how far this car is diamond. And I started looking at it more and more, and I mean, basically what I did was built a whole new frame out of angle iron up here and new supports. That's what's holding the car together now. But that is actually how far the original chassis was bent out of shape. If you actually look up on this side here, you can see this rail is damaged, and I'm not talking about the rust. That's pretty extensive too, but actually damaged from a hit. You look up here on top, and that thing is just railed in almost to a point where this outside is touching the inside. So maybe that's what originally took the car out and sent it to the junkyard. I'm not really sure, but I don't think our stub's gonna fall out anymore. Well, maybe it will, but basically we're gonna start running some roll bar and cage everything and get it tied to the front back into the car, and that'll hold everything together. So I'm fairly confident we'll be all right. A couple more gussets out here on this side. It's not going anywhere. Alright guys, well we got a lot accomplished here on the Studebaker over the last couple days. Ditched that old straight axle, got our Camaro stub welded in, engine's back in, everything's hooked up right now except my fuel line, which I'm going to do real quick here just so I can get this thing out and use my hoist for a different project for a day or two. So essentially, basically next time we come back with this thing, I'm probably going to be cutting off a lot of the outer cage on the outside of the car and redoing that. I definitely want to pop both doors off, cut the inner structures out, hammer the skins back out, get them back on the car, and probably after that do some roll cage changing inside the car to get a little bit more protection, and to tie that front end into the cage system, that front stub back into the cage, get everything solid again. A lot of this roll bar in here is pretty crusty, and I really don't want one shearing off if we take a hit and stabbing me or a passenger in the leg. So that's going to be it for this time. Next time we come back, we'll be doing some of that cage and body work, getting ready to go out for our first race. So thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.